And now we're going to have Senator Caryn Tyson come up and tell us what's going on in her committees.
I'm not as tall as the Senate President, so it's good to see you guys. Can you hear me in the back? I'll try not to yell. My husband says I tend to yell. Well, that's because I can't hear so much to speak up. We are so lucky and blessed to have Senate President Ty Masterson. He is a breath of fresh air. I cannot tell you, it is so nice to have leadership that truly believes and goes for what they believe in. You know, we have a saying in my family. You go up there, you get elected, you go up there to make changes and do things, you stay too long and you become part of the problem. And so we need legislators. In fact, you guys, we're gonna start begging now to work on that 2024 election for your state Senate candidate. We need a strong one, and we need to send somebody to Topeka that can fill that seat and will stand for your beliefs. I'll tell you, we have so much going on. Ty talked about a little bit of it. I'll touch a little bit on tax. I'm gonna make a joke here, but I don't see any county commissioners. Hey, but Atchison County. We do have one from Atchison County. We had legislation, Senate Bill 13. We tried to pass it in 2019 and the governor vetoed it. Well, we brought it back again this year. And for those of you that haven't heard the story, I am a software engineer by trade. That's what I do for a living. And I've seen the results or the lack thereof in Topeka. So what I did was I heard from you and others across the state of how bad property taxes are in Kansas. And I took it on as a software project and went across the state. We formed a team and we worked diligently on it. And we came up with a list of 80 items and did a weighted matrix, which most of you that wouldn't matter, but the cream of the crop rises when you do a weighted matrix. And what we ended up with was a majority of the language in Senate Bill 13. And thankfully, the governor could not veto transparency for a second time. What that bill requires, it was modeled after Utah and Tennessee legislation, but I've looked, I'm studying all the states because there's always room for improvement. There's many states that do similar legislation as this or similar statute. So now, you know how your valuations will go up? And then, right, and you'll go ask your local official, well, why did my taxes go up? And they'll say, well, call Topeka. And Topeka will say, well, what does that mean? Your legislator or PVD? And you'll call Topeka. And they'll say, well, no, call your local official. That's why your taxes went up. And we've got a runaround, a shell game. And so you can't tell why they went up. Well, Senate Bill 13 will stop the shell game. Thanks. It will stop your property taxes from increasing, but what it does is it requires a notice of what the increase is going to be, and then it requires the local governing body to vote at a public meeting as to whether they're going to increase your property taxes or not. So you will know absolutely why and who is voting for your taxes. Now, I got real interesting because the Kansas Senate, we excluded K through 12 for several reasons. And the House decided, we want K through 12 in. They're a big part of our property tax, and that's why, you know, we see increases every year. And it makes sense. So they included it. And the Senate said, hey, you guys are willing to stand up for it? We'll stand with you. And so we did, and we were very glad that we did. We've got a trailer bill coming that would change the dates for the reporting. It's 2104. I know we're not a fan of the governor, but I did reach out to her office today and ask that she not veto Senate Bill 2104. The Senate passed it, 26 votes yes. The House will be voting on it this week. Hopefully they'll pass it. but it's got some good legislation in it, and it's not just, it changes the dates, but it also has some of those property tax items that I talked about. One of them is simple stuff, like the Board of Tax Appeals can email if both parties agree. Heaven forbid we save state money and save the taxpayer money. Just some common sense legislation in that bill. Two of them, 119 and 98, they passed the Senate 40-0 last year. This year we've got a little bit of a personality thing going on. If a certain person carries a bill, then somebody may or may not vote for it. So hopefully we'll get past that. You guys remember 3rd and 4th grade, right? When, all those head games. Well, believe me, we see them in the legislature, right, Connie? I mean, it's so funny. Literally, we had a tax bill one year, and I was standing there with a group of senators, and somebody walks up to me, or they walk up to the senators around me. They go, "You want to go to dinner? We're going at 7. We're going to 7 at dinner. Hi, Caryn. We're going to 7 at dinner." I was like, "Guys, I don't care. I've got a sandwich in my office, and I'm going to vote no on that bill." So it didn't matter. So we have some other good legislation coming. It wasn't my idea, but it's a great idea. The fact that we remove income tax on retirement accounts. How wonderful would that be? Here are some of the highest in the nation taxes, and we need to do what we can to keep people here, and that would help people here. The Senate passed it. I think it was in House Bill 2106 or 2601 last week. We sent it over to the House. I'm hoping they concur on it. Another bill that may impact a few of you would allow, you may not know this, but some of your small businesses, when they pay their sales tax, they pay estimates on what they think they're going to sell. It was very difficult during COVID. It was obvious that this is not the way to do business. So we put a bill in the Senate. Actually, one of my constituents had asked for it a few years ago, and I remembered it, so I introduced the bill. We had a hearing on it. We passed that bill across the Senate floor last week too. Hopefully the House will pick these bills up, and I know they've got a lot on their plate too, but we have sent them some good legislation. Now the House put together a really good bill, and I love to give credit where credit's due. The House tax chairman built Senate Bill 50. Now some of you may not like parts of it, but what it does is it puts 2 or 3 items on income tax and sales tax. Marketplace facilitators, online sales tax is part of that bill. And people said, well, you're raising taxes. How many in here are aware that you're supposed to pay sales tax when you purchase online and it's not collected? You get it, you understand it. Yes, Kansans are supposed to. In fact, there's a line on your income tax for you to pay the sales tax that you did not pay. So all this does is it clarifies the language and gives authority for these third-party and online businesses to collect that sales tax instead of you being on your honor. So that's part of the bill, and the other part of the bill was 2017. I don't know if you remember, but the federal tax cuts, it inadvertently caused some tax increases for certain Kansans. So it has that in there, it would address that. The other thing I was able to get in the bill was the fact that we keep chasing federal filing dates in Kansas. So this would just match us up with whatever the federal income tax filing deadline is. Another item in the bill, you heard a little bit of it on IT, is to, right now in Kansas, it's kind of ambiguous, the law. If somebody steals your identity and say applies for unemployment, you would be obligated for income tax. Yeah, how horrible is that? It's not bad enough that you had your identity stolen, but you would also owe income tax on the money. So we put in statute in that bill, in Senate Bill 50, and actually we put that in a couple of bills. We're hoping that the governor will sign that into law. So there's a lot of good things in that legislation. The other thing that the Senate president didn't talk about was unemployment. Yeah, talk about a mess. And it's been going on for over 20 years. Yeah, it is one of the worst systems in the nation. In fact, there was a 10-day period that Kansas had more fraudulent claims than any other state in the nation. How horrible is that? That's not something we want to be known for. Like I said, I'm in IT, so this really is disappointing, especially when you've got a Democrat in IT and myself, and we're actually in agreement on how to get this project finished and get it across the line. And we cannot get the administration to listen to us on this. But other states are doing it. They've got a system in place. You find out who it is, you find out who the vendor is, you go after that system and you migrate it. I mean, I know it's not that simple, there's more to it, but that's how you get it done, and you get it done quickly. So we're pushing, but we'll see. We did pass an unemployment bill that has some language in it to push for that, and also to help shore up the unemployment funds, which impacts businesses. It impacts you too, because if we run out of funds in that unemployment account, this administration will borrow money from the federal government. Well, that's not good for any of us. We don't need to be doing that. The third thing that the Senate President did touch on was elections. We did have some decent election laws, able to get a few amendments on there. One of the items that I put on there, and I know you guys know about it because the county clerks I talked to, there was one lady that had 5 applications that somebody had mailed to her and she had sent to the local county clerk for advanced voting applications. And it looked official. So she thought she was getting paperwork from an official group. She was sending them into the county each time. So I put an amendment on the bill. Hopefully we won't lose it. The fact that if they look like or try to appear like a county clerk or the Secretary of State, an official group, then they will have a non-person 7 felony. I think it's level 7 felony. So there's some consequences to it. It's not just don't do this. It's don't do this or you get your hand slapped very hard. And that's what we need. Yeah. That's the individual of the organization. That's our Attorney General will have to go after that to prosecute. We have one group in Kansas, you may not be aware of this, they set up a website and they look official. And people are filling out advanced ballot application or they're registering to vote. Well, they don't know any different that it's not official because it's actually getting sent then to the county clerk or the Secretary of State's office. But what the people don't realize that are hidden that website, they're collecting your IP address, they're collecting data off your machine. I mean, it's just, we've got to stop it. So we've got to do whatever we can. Hopefully we can get these bills passed. They said the governor's going to veto them, but we need to send a strong message. We have a veto-proof majority, and we need to make sure that these go into law. You know, people say, well, we didn't have problems in Kansas with our elections. We didn't have the problems that the other states did, but there's always room for improvement in any system, in any process, and that's the way we've got to treat this. Yeah. So I just, I'm going to preach a little bit to the choir here. You guys are engaged, you're involved, or you wouldn't be here. I mean, it's great to see you, but you've heard me say this for years. We are losing our freedoms from within. It is so critical that we stand up and engage and get our friends, our family, our neighbors, people in other states that we know. You guys know people across the nation. We've got to get them engaged. We've got to start standing for what we believe in. And we've got to stand strong. Yes. It is so important. And like I said, I'm preaching to the choir. But I asked the high school group, I always ask, and I'll ask you guys the same question. Can you name one aspect of government, one aspect of your life that government it's about our freedoms. Some of these bills, they sound great and wonderful. Like one, I'll give you an example. We're going to join a speech pathologist group, a national group now. They wanted the first 10 states in so that we would get a seat at the table for the directors. You know what? That's a group outside of Kansas deciding how we manage our business. I say no.
Good.
I say no. It's not easy to vote no on a lot of these bills because there's a lot of peer pressure, a lot of friends that like them, but we had 3 or 4 of them. One of them was a property tax bill. There's a group, a national group, that decides the standards for our appraisers in Kansas. And so we put in a bill that the Kansas Realtor Board would have the final say, not a national group that could care less about Kansas statute or what's going on in Kansas. And as the Senate President said, we've got to start turning down some of this federal money. We absolutely do. It's hard, it's not easy, but I'll tell you, when I was a freshman in the House, there was a bill I voted no on, and they couldn't understand why. But small meat processing plants in Kansas, the language in the bill said that they would be greater than or equal to federal inspections. For those of you that don't know, we have custom inspections, state inspections, and federal inspections. So why should you have state inspections if they have to be greater than or equal to federal money? Well, it was so that we could get a match. It was approximately $3 million at the time. To me, it wasn't worth it. And if you look at the businesses now, the plants that went out of business as a result of that, how much did it really cost the state? Yeah, and I'll ask the schools this. They'll give me the deer in the headlights. We get federal money through K through 12. And I'll ask the superintendents and the people at the schools, how much is that money costing us? They're like, what do you mean? It's money. We get it for free. No, you don't get it for free. You have to jump through hoops to get that money. You have to hire people, you have to take certain tests, you have to perform. How much is that money costing you? And we had a similar situation in the election. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but I wanted to tell you this. How many of you knew that Mark Zuckerberg sent his group that he formed for elections, sent money to Kansas? A few of you knew that. Over 20 counties accepted Zuckerberg money. I have requested a legislative post audit and it is being performed. I can't wait to see the results on that. Yes. Because the question is, what did these counties do for that money? We definitely don't want an outside source deciding our elections. So, if you guys have any questions, I know I could talk government all night, sorry. You can tell I'm very passionate about my job. I love my job. And Leavenworth is home away from home for me. You guys, it's great to see you all.